hope that no other developer tries to cash cow you.
Oh my god. What a terrible nightmare. Just glad it wasn't real. What?
Silent, I gotta tell you the truth. THPS5 is terrible. So terrible it gave me throat cancer. Don't play the fucking game, you idiot.
No. There's no way they had the audacity to do something so sinister, like release a very poor quality game called THPS5. No, it can't be real. Oh my god.
Everywhere I go, I'm higher than United. Fly with me. Everybody knows there's no sleep to Brooklyn, no sleep.
Ah, shit.
Hey guys, it's Silent here, ready to drop some knowledge. Boom. Right there. Just set it next to the sofa. Thank you. As you guys may have seen prior, I loved the Tony Hawk series, but eventually got soured on them, but I'm still addicted to most of the classics. Sounds like a drug addiction or something. Hey man, the thrill of doing a sow flip is just too much, dude. I keep coming back. See that spider swing? I love that shit, dude. There are debates usually made about when Tony Hawk as a series went downhill. I mean, making a skateboarding game every year about getting dumped on by elephants, run over by trains, Canadians pissing off the side of buildings, calling your friends a shit tub, and pretending to be a Superman every year isn't easy. The games began to struggle with identity and trying to maintain innovational new features. While they never really reached the Neversoft standard they set for themselves from the Pro Skater series, the games were still pretty decent. The ideas were there, but the execution began to slip. While I feel Project 8 is criminally underrated by most fans, I didn't feel the same for Proving Ground. Regardless of when the tipping point actually was, Neversoft tried to go out still swinging with new features every year for better or worse. And then they made a bunch of Guitar Hero games. And then they closed up shop. Before Neversoft kicked the bucket, they passed the proverbial relay baton to Robomodo, who promptly face-planted on the concrete. Maybe it was because some chucklehead glued a plastic shitboard to his feet. Oh wait, that's just the Tony Hawk ride board. Oopsie. Papa Activision, why'd you push me into track and field? I never wanted to do this! Why can't you just be like your brother, you scrawny little Kensucky? With a gimmick and a Tony Hawk license in hand, and experience only in mobile games such as, The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Panem Run, Monster Flash, Globber's Escape, and Skateboard Slam in mind, Robomodo set out on their dream to make Toby Hook skateboarding games. Except the warning was already in one of the previous titles. Skateboard Slam, Slam feature. They knew what fire they were playing with. Illuminodo. Sorry, getting ahead of myself.
Everyone's gonna like the game, it's fun, you know, it's something different.
I don't honestly believe anyone expected much from Ride and Shred. It's a typical cash grab heavily geared towards the motion control supporting audience, except nobody liked it and nobody bought it. With over $100 going towards the board and game, don't really blame people's hesitance on touching this game. Ride and Shred both had similarly awkward and sometimes comical, whether intentional or unintentional, interlude cutscenes.
Build up the meter by pumping up the crowd. Keep them pumped.
I mean, I don't even know what to say. It speaks for itself, really. Most of the modes between the two games are similar enough in nature. Ride had a few modes such as speedrun mode where you scoop up positive point values and avoid negative ones to obtain the best overall time before you reach the end. Challenge mode where you do certain tricks on rails, off ramps, etc. And a high score mode where it's all about doing sick combos both on the streets and on the ramps. They essentially stretch these three premises throughout the majority of the two games. Ride and Shred act like an on-rail style game where your character moves between multiple paths depending on what direction you lean, all the while spinning, pivoting, tilting your board, and covering sensors. This proved to be quite a task for me due to limited space and flick tricks not working so well in Ride. Another major annoyance of Ride was having to recalibrate your board far too many times. It reached its apex when we got to Nigel Houston's horse game, where after each trick you do, you have to recalibrate your board again. This helped speed up the effect of the novelty of the game wearing off very quickly, which is basically all these games had to begin with. These two board issues with Ride seemingly changed with the sequel in Shred, which was a relief. I also felt that Shred did a better job of demonstrating and explaining how to do tricks than Ride. Almost too much. If you flub an ollie or any form of trick, a pro skater will consistently lecture you every time on how you're fucking up tricks while you struggle through your initial attempts. I'm sorry, Daddy, I just wanted to play Toilet Huck Prom Scooters properly, but I'm too bad. Don't get the belt, no! No! There's also a snowboarding mode, which although short, was a simpler, easier to follow mode than skating, but that's not why I bought this, damn it. I bought it for skate. Oh. Oh no. The levels have decent themes for being an on-rail game, but can also be pretty glitchy as well. The finale levels are a nuisance. I ended up getting more frustrated during these courses than throughout any other segment. They're so long, so drawn out, and not much fun to play. I don't know what's going on. I can't spine transfer. Mad 'cause bad. This is cultural appropriation. Rock beats paper, fuck boy! I got it this time. Paper beats paper. Rock, paper, scissors 2017 champion. Fuck! Help me! Shit! Tony, why'd you do this to me? I feel like Goku on the steak way. Wish I could instant transmission out of here. I'm a champion. Yeah, baby. This is not going to end well. I can't fucking see where I'm going. How well do I have to time these jumps? Jesus! This level may as well have been replaced with aliens probing me because I feel like this game's repeating fucking me in the ass anyways with these stupid extraterrestrial shit. They have all this UFO tech but can't afford better ramps or better Robomodo ride boards. You can also play this game with your friends. No? Okay. Unlockable outfits and characters, I guess. I don't know. I hated Ride and Shred less than I thought I would, but I still disliked them with a burning passion though. So I guess good job. Look at this, I'm a master. I'm a master. I'm a master. Oh shit. Look at this combo. Whoa! HD went back to a more traditional formula of just playing the game with a flippin' gamepad. Got some old school pros returning like Tony, Rodney, Costin, Reynolds, Caballero. My name Jeff. Ha ha ha. Some new peeps like Chris Cole and Riley Hawk. Hi. Got quite a few of the classic songs from the first two Tony Hawk games. New ones aren't really as favorable. I got teenage blood, I got teenage blood. Scientology. Boo, 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 boo. Scientology. See me in the sky, I'm Trent fucking Reznor. I'm bomb, I'm about to blow up. I'm bomb, I'm about to blow up. You can change some of your trick inputs around. Lots of levels I've already seen a million times. You need DLC for this game for THPS 3 levels, by the way. Stupid. Goals are good enough. Some of the placements of cash and other objects you might find familiar, which definitely makes you feel a bit of nostalgia they were going for. The issue comes mostly from the engine this game operates on. Unreal Engine 3. I found it pretty unreal they use this engine. Sometimes you're on the moon, sometimes you can't air for shit, sometimes you glitch through the floor. No biggie. Transfers are especially annoying. Respawns if you bail are problematic, balance meters are super wonky, it's just a mess. Also, no online play on the PC port, cause fuck me, right? Console master race.
We love games.
Not anymore. Not your kind of games. Your games are cruel.
THPS 5 rumors circulated much to the sadness of the informed Tony Hawk demographic. Others, blissfully ignorant. Game Informer magazine articles foreshadowed many dark things, like scaling back on certain customization options, rehashing parts of levels, and a new feature I'll discuss in a bit. However, they did mention most of this was simply to harken back to the pre-Thug days, choosing to leave out features that came after THPS 4 because it just got too zany, dude. Basically, what I gathered from the E3 showing was that it looked like a clunky, soulless husk of what Tony Hawk games once were. Instead of a slew of new revolutionary features being introduced, they had a few. To keep track of the amount of features, skaters, levels, and so on across the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series, I'll draw references to this chart. So THPS 5 has the Slam feature, attempting to speed up descent from aerials and snapping to rails. Co-op missions with friends, only ever really done by Thaw Classic. Mostly new cast only opting to keep Tony and Andrew, but instead passing on the proverbial torch to newer skaters. I understand passing the torch, but you're really not going to keep Mullen, Costin, Burnquist, or Bucky? Come on, man. They really emphasized on things like 20-player online multiplayer, power-ups, create a park, button controls are the same, old school levels like school and warehouse, goals like skate letters, combo letters, secret tapes, and so on, lengthy music playlists from rock, hip-hop, and punk genres, playing as yourself. They also confirmed that there would be no PC port at all of THPS 5. Console Master Race! Trailers of the game were released to negative reactions, slamming the game harder than you slam on the ground for looking like a PS1 game, and gameplay looking as mediocre as ever. While I do agree that THPS 5 and the games prior definitely could have looked better, classic Neversoft-made Tony games were never graphical masterpieces. Their strength came from the crazy combos, silly goals, fluid gameplay, replayable and dynamic levels. Robomodo's strengths came from, their intro screens? Allowing Robomodo to make another Tony Hawk game, and once again with the Unreal Engine, it's like letting a monkey take care of your house and leaving books of matches everywhere. You know it's not going to end well. A telling sign of a game developer's faith in their product is whether or not they actually release review copies to media outlets. Activision and Robomodo did not. Not to mention straight up refusing to release a Teach PS5 demo when curious fans would ask about it, saying they'd rather focus on the final game. This can only mean bad things. Want to see how these Tony boys end up in the next episode? Let's find out.
Screw you! Screw all you fucking doubters!
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 was marred with problems from day one. A 7.7GB patch trying to resolve issues, crashing on the startup logos. Maybe the game was trying to warn us before we took the plunge. Games crashing and deleting all save progress, frame rate and graphical issues, double tap tricks not working, goals not working, online capabilities being greatly limited to only being able to connect to one player if any, 20 player online. Totally legit. I don't know what waiting for joins means, but okay. Modes like Horse and Graffiti being omitted from multiplayer, and included game modes like King of the Hill and Firefight being drastically misrepresented and skewed from their original concept. For King of the Hill, you have projectiles to hit the player with the crown when you're chasing them, and the king has to obtain a certain amount of points while holding the crown to win the game, and unlock King Graham. For some reason. Instead of Firefight having full health bars and having bigger fireballs depending on the size of your gnarly combos, you just throw dinky little Dan Hibiki fireballs. The most hits you get on someone depends the winner. No one gets eliminated. No one gets sent to the fiery depths of hell by getting absolutely incinerated, crushed, humiliated knowing they have inferior combo game and skill to your mighty self. So yeah, they definitely missed the mark on staying faithful to the game modes and understanding what made these classic game modes fun and replayable. How are you not going to have graffiti either? THPS 1 had graffiti, and that game came out in 1999. While watching the game gave me good insight, I intended to play the last gen version for myself. Some things you have to go alone. Some things you need to play for yourself to truly see how low the bar can be set. Action 52, Superman 64, Rascal, and now Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. So right away I noticed this game didn't come with a manual. Well, fuck me then. Guess I'm going in blind. Remember when the games had the hype as hell intros? Badass rock anthems with all these flashy shots of the skaters and the names featured? The intro here is okay, but it's lukewarm at best. Like if you leave a hot chocolate on the counter for half an hour. In fact, this trailer does it better. So I opened the game and immediately my heart sank. I was aware there wasn't going to be an online mode, but there's absolutely no multiplayer mode either. Part of what I treasured so dearly about my time with the Tony Hawk games was playing it offline with my friends for hours on end. How am I supposed to style my friends with silly characters like 80s Tony or Daisy with this shit? Not only that, but one of the most appreciated maps in the PS4 and Xbox One version, Mountain, is nowhere to be seen in this port. Not to mention the free DLC levels like Wild West and Underground are also absent. The biggest insult of all is the only secret skater you have is King Graham from King's Quest. You're gonna take away Lil Wayne? Tyler the Creator? The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? The only reason I bought this fucking game was the heroes in a fucking half shell. Fun Lab is more like fucking Labradors not making a better port. There's a tutorial. Great. Pro Skater bios, which give you some info on the who's who of the game. It also shows you their videos right away that you usually get from playing through the story with them. So that's different. To be real, the people that said it looked like a PlayStation 1 or 2 game weren't wrong. This game by no means looks like an up-to-date 2015 game. The models look especially ugly. Yeesh. From my playing experience, I did notice that they kind of fixed some of the more notable graphical and frame rate issues. Hey, remember when you could make your own skater? Yeah, those were good times. Hey, remember in the trailer it makes it look like you can still make your own skater? Yeah, you can't. Honestly, the other games had so much more customization. Hats, hair, shirts, pants, socks, shoes, backpacks, accessories, tattoos, scaling, decks, grip tape, wheels. But here you're just slapping atrocious looking presets on top of these poor Pro Skater models. It's like they decided to go with the customization style comparable to some old Flash dress-up games. Oh boy, can't wait to dress up my skater boy. Ha, see you later boy, that shit is ugly. Why did they do this? Tony Hawk Ride had more customization than this. I'm a monstrosity! Not to mention some of these assets are recycled garbage from previous Robomodo games. You also cannot change any of your flip, grab, lip, or special tricks. You also cannot change the direction of any of your tricks either. What an incredible disappointment. Need I remind you that games like THPS HD, a previous Robomodo product, and THPS 2, a game from 2000, had this ability. So far, 2 of the overhyped features have been huge letdowns. Let's go for another with Create a Park. The main issue I have with Create a Park is that with the exception of the small warehouse template, there are no templates that give you a blank slate to work with like the other Tony Hawk games. Seriously, one small blank template. What the fuck, mate? Instead, you have to construct your park based around a small, medium, or large version of beach, skate park, school, warehouse, or space station. This leads to having 2 different levels, slopes, among other things you might not necessarily want but have to deal with anyways. It's like being the Siamese twin of Pauly Shore. It's just not okay. All this being said, Create a Park is easily the best feature in the game, although other Create a Park editors, like Thug and THPS4, are far superior in my opinion. There's plenty of pieces, and they actually allow you to place objects in midair without having to rely on glitches to do so, or stack things on top of each other, which is a nice change. All power-ups are readily available to you. Free skate objectives like skate, combo, secret tape, secret DVD are also present to give you something to do. Another issue I ran into is not being able to have spine transfer setups like in previous Tony Hawk games like Thug 1 or THPS4. Can't spine up from a lower ramp, can't spine down from a higher ramp, good shit. If you actually manage to scrape together Create a Park, you can save them for others to play. Since I'm an unoriginal cunt, I decided to take on some other people's stages. This is good. This is very good. You can also have a rating system and let them know how awesome or shitty their levels are. We Facebook now. I'd like to take a moment to refer to something I call the Neversoft goal principle. In some instances, they have certain goals that are meant to be challenging, which for some is an annoyance, but for others, it's a welcome test. In either sense, it's usually not challenging to the point of being unfair. Other goals are just plain ridiculous and stupid. However, these aforementioned goals are usually fun. So let's bring up the chart, shall we? If a goal is this stupid, it has to be this fun in order for it to be an interesting or good goal. There are exceptions, but Neversoft adheres to this for the most part. With that out of the way, let's drop into the story mode. Right away you notice the music. Some of it is alright, other songs are terrible. But I feel like the ratio of good songs to bad songs are a little off balance in comparison to other games, but that's just my take really. Skrillex, fuck, goddamn. It must be said that THPS 5 is the most confused Tony Hawk game I think I've ever witnessed. There's no timers, so you're free to roam around, THPS 4 style. You may encounter free skate objectives, which are comprised of a secret tape, a secret DVD, skate letters, combo letters, and an object you need to destroy. These goals you can do anytime when you're not in a timed goal, so it sort of resembles that of a THPS 1 to THPS 3 game. They also have goal markers set up around the level, but you can also select these goals from the menu without having to find these markers first, somewhat like Thug 1. Every single goal is broken up into Am, Pro, and Sick, which resembles Project 8 and Proving Ground. Let's also take into account some of the game's mechanics. They have manuals, reverts, spine transfers, wall plants, double tap tricks. Keep in mind Tony Hawk said that they were keeping a similar button layout, but instead opted to change the button layout. For example, if you do a double kick flip, usually it's right and then flip flip. But in Robomodo land, it is right, right, and then flip, resembling more of a south flip or Ollie North style input rather than a double kick flip. No flatland variations of manuals, can't switch your grind mid combo, no skitching, can't use special tricks until you land an initial combo. Along with these scatterbrained features cherry-picked from other Tony Hawk games, they added in new features and most of them are horrendous. Robomodo and Activision really must love the practice of taking one step forward and 20 steps backward, because that's really what they did here. It seems that for the most part they used THPS HD as their canvas and just slapped on wall plants and implemented a select few setups where spine transfers could actually be used. But that's not all. They have the Slam feature, a feature universally panned for ending combos prematurely and being pointless. I'm assuming this feature was only added to try and combat the floatiness of their prior game. That's the only reason I see this being added. Press the grind button or double tap grind button if that suits your fancy more, while airborne to slam onto rails, the floor, or down from a vert ramp. What they fail to see is that this doesn't remedy anything. This is like putting a band-aid over a shotgun wound and saying, yeah, you're probably okay. Go about your day, little Billy. The game is still floaty and the slam feature is still terrible. Speaking of pointless, we have power-ups now. You can grow in size like your Super Mario. This lets you slam through certain things you wouldn't otherwise be able to. You can set your board on fire or electrify your board, which is mostly just a visual appeal. The main power-up you want is the one that gives you 2 ollies, allowing you to extend your time in the air for more points. So that's a good feature. Love it. If you approach a wall and jump at a proper angle, you can automatically wall ride without pressing that pesky grind button. Cause that was so hard. This is hard. Pressing this button is hard. There's very minimal speed loss from doing reverts like in classic Tony Hawk games, so whoring points is not only easy but almost encouraged. Not to mention you can use the patented wall plant grind wall plant combo.
However, much like THPS HD and much unlike THPS games, you can't jump out of your combo after doing a revert, limiting your combo options since it tunnel visions you into a typical air revert manual combo. Balance meters are still not up to par. In other releases of the game, regardless of whether you do a regular manual or a nose manual, your meter would always be in a similar spot as it was before. In Robomodo world, it flips depending on what manual you do. So if you do a manual, the bar scrolls, and then you perform a nose manual, it flips to the opposite end of the bar. Do I even need to specify why this is an issue? In most other Tony Hawk games, you spin decently fast in the air to the point where you don't necessarily need to bump up your stats. In THPS 5, you spin so fucking slow, you either need to get the 17 stat points required to max your spin stat, or just rely on the 180 auto tap spins. This reliance on the auto tap spin might cause some problems. Not only does it make your lines look super ugly and about as stylish as seafoam green shag carpet, but if you spin left instead of right, you're gonna have a bad time. Spin right? That's fine. Spin left and oh, you activate your special. Yes, you don't automatically have special when you land your initial combo. You have to press the left bumper to activate your special. So if you want to spin left, well, your special meter comes first, friend. Do you recall earlier when I mentioned how you can't change any of your tricks, including the specials? Not even changing the inputs to do said special moves? There's a specific reason for that. When you activate special, every trick you do are special moves. If you manual normally, it's a special manual. If you do a regular grab like a nose grab, nope, it's a special now. You grind, it's a special grind. So they completely stripped any form of inputs for special tricks. Why? It worked fine in THPS HD. Are they trying to make baby's first Tony Hawk game? Because I actually think they may have topped Thug 1's Too Easy mode with this one. Another thing I really liked about the old school Pro Skater series was that with each new game release, you're pretty much guaranteed new special moves. Sometimes they're specific to secret skaters, other ones you can equip to your own skater, etc. They're always really fun, unique, sometimes a little bit campy, but you're almost guaranteed new special moves. However, for THPS 5, they decided to borrow a lot of their special moves from HD. Now I get it, Robomodo. Reusing and recycling is good for the environment, but it's not good for keeping your goddamn game franchise alive, okay? I'd also like to take a second to talk about auto kick. In every Tony Hawk game before THPS 5, you just held down the ollie button and your skater would kick and skate. However, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 functions a lot like Tony Hawk's Underground without auto kick on. Hear that? You can toggle this shit. You don't have to play like this. In THPS 5, you can hold down the right trigger to continuously kick, but you still need to jump using the ollie button. Despite this, it seems your skater goes a tad faster from spamming the kick button. This is just goofy. This isn't right. You hold this, you go. You don't do this, Robomodo. This has been ingrained into my brain for 16 years. What are you trying to do to me? Time to loop back to the goals. As previously mentioned, each goal has 3 tiers depending on your performance and efficiency. Am 1 star, Pro 2 stars, and Sick is 3. Each free skate objective such as combo letters and so forth only count as 1 star. You need 15 stars to move on to the next level. If you get a sick rating on every goal, you're given the choice to do pro goals. Alright Junior, I gotta explain to you like this, alright? So we got the AM, we got the pro, and we got the sick. Pro's here, sick's down here. So you gotta get the sick rating. But then you get the sick rating and you unlock a pro goal. Even though pro is not as good as sick. Why aren't they called sick goals? Explain this to me, Robomodo. Somewhat reminiscent of THPS 4's pro goals. These goals are much trickier than the goals prior. Do all the pro goals and you unlock King Graham on 360 and PS3. That's it, you got the one unlockable skater. We can stop now. No?
Okay. The goals themselves are brutal. They're such formulaic, uncreative heaps of slop that by the time you're done the first level, you've basically seen it all. They'd probably be here on the chart. All of them! Firstly, there are no comical characters or pro skaters acting as goal presenters, so they're just like, here, you go do this shit. Imagine in THPS4 if you're dropped in, and instead of talking to Ollie the bum, they're like, yo, collect these pink elephants just cuz. That's THPS5 for you, except you're collecting other shit, like ice cream cones, lunch boxes, pudding packs, marshmallows, and so on, and drop them off in a centralized area. You also have your high score missions, doing combos to prevent your head from exploding, nail the tricks they call out presented in the form of Simon Says. Is this fucking kindergarten, mate? Don't do that trick, cunt. I didn't say Tony Says. Grind the thing, do some big airs, combo this trick spot, going through rings, holding on to what I am, pretending I'm a Superman 64, proving grounds Hawkman brought to life again, clearing objects out of a pool, breaking targets, doing manual laps, collecting or destroying things quickly, take that YouTube bloggers, no more drone shots bitches, and collecting things while in a big combo. That's the extent of THPS5's goal library. Presentation is piss poor, the goals are boring, and the challenge lies not in the difficulty of the goals, but within the sluggishness and awful controls. Not to mention that in time goals such as high score and spot combos, the goal doesn't autocomplete even if you've already done enough to achieve the sick rating, nor can you end your run like you could in Project 8 or Proving Ground. I guess I gotta wait. I guess I'm waiting. I'm gonna be a good boy, I'm gonna wait! This pool of goals will last you throughout the entirety of the game. All 7 or 8 of them depending on the platform. Once more, keep in mind, this is less levels than THPS 1, a game released 16 years prior to THPS 5. I can appreciate the barracks for what it is, a representation of a real-life location converted into digital form. But even in other games, these types of levels, other examples being Skater Island and Burnside, were never my favorites. I like levels with a little bit more flair. The barracks does foreshadow what follows though. Every single level is too symmetrical to the point of its hindrance. There's nothing that makes it pop, very few unconventional skate objects to trick off of. And it's mostly all just quarter pipes, rails, very few spine transfer setups, a few pools here and there, basic bitch levels. The only exceptions I can think of are the only levels I can't play. The levels are soulless, dull, have very little interaction with the environment, and have no motion to them. No pedestrians, no skaters roaming around, no vehicles, I mean no wonder there's no sketching. There's no vehicles either! Very few transformative aspects that cause changes to the level, such as Hangar, Zoo, LA, or Suburbia. The only secret spots of note are in Mega Park and another level I'll talk about very briefly here. While Barracks and Bonfire Beach aren't masterpieces by any means, at least they didn't recycle levels and try to be original. God damn it! So here we have School 3, or as I like to call it, School 1.5. What we have is a bare-bones stripped-down School 2 wannabe. They added whatever this is, a lovely fountain, and sections that feed directly into the gym from the starting point of the level and by the roof gap. All the while removing the tunnel that leads to the other portion of the level, the secret skate spot, and the gigantic wall. They replaced it all with a quarter pipe. This quarter pipe. Great! It just reeks of laziness. Not only are you rehashing major portions of Neversoft-inspired levels, but you're removing huge segments from said levels and trying to pass it off as original? Yeah, this is School 3, not School 2. Can't just draw a mustache on the Mona Lisa and claim it as your own. Mega Park. Boring skate park level with one secret area. A secret area with wires and pipes strewn about and a pool containing toxic sludge. Even though Rooftops is a conceptual rehash of 2X's Skylines in my eyes, it's still one of the better levels in the game, which isn't really saying much. Next on my shit list is Bunker. Gee, doesn't this look familiar? Robomonster decided to make a Frankenstein level that combined aspects of Warehouse and Hangar. Two more prominently featured levels in way too many Tony Hawk games already. But Silent, they're classic levels. How many times are you going to feature a Hangar, Warehouse, or Downhill Jam before it's no longer classic? Warehouse, THPS 1, THPS 2X, THPS 3, Thug 2 as training, THPS HD, and finally in THPS 5. Hangar, THPS 2, Thug 1, THPS HD, and THPS 5. If you're going to adopt Neversoft levels to the degree that you are, can we at least get something fresher? I wouldn't mind seeing Mall again. Or what about a revamped San Francisco? THPS 2's New York was amazing. THPS 2 Skate Heaven. THPS3's Tokyo, Suburbia, or Cruise Ship, literally any of the THPS4 levels. Come on, dude! Lastly is Asteroid Belt, a level I had high hopes for. I initially thought it was going to be a Skate Heaven remake, or if it wasn't that, I'd at least get a cool space level that I'd enjoy. Well, I was wrong on both counts. It's just not fun. In fact, most found the ring mission in this level to be especially infuriating because it relies on the slam mechanic, because not only are you already floaty because of the engine, but you also have a moon gravity-like effect applied to you. You also can fall off the fucking rails. I can't do it anymore. This game is an embarrassment. What pisses me off the most is that it's implied that it's continuing off of a legendary series. What's next? Thug 3? Thaw 2? Tony and Kate plus Project 8? Tony Hawk's proving critics right on the grounds that we've lost touch? As much shit as I gave Thug 2, it had one of the best engines the series ever saw. It was fluid, it gave the players opportunities to have their own unique style. It played like a true Tony Hawk game, and it had its own charm and personality. As much as I don't enjoy Bam Margera or his ventures, you could have actually added something here that would have breathed some life into the otherwise lifeless game that was THPS 5.
Incoming!
Neversoft's Tony Hawk games gave so much for being just a silly skateboarding series. They were my childhood, my obsession, my passion. You could play the game in an infinite number of ways. You could form visually appealing lines relying on stylish movesets and sick transfers. You could point horror until you were blue in the face. You could glitch hunt without the glitches hunting you. And you could speedrun it all the same. When it was thought that you've played the game in every way imaginable, another innovation is formulated. It was such an open series of games that it lent itself well to all of these things.
THPS 5 didn't really lend itself to any of that. It was doomed from the very beginning. It was pretty evident that the developers didn't completely understand what captured us, what drove us to want to keep playing. However, even if they did understand, it was an uphill battle for Robomodo, so I find it hard to entirely blame them. They were working on a series that's reputation had been tainted from awful gimmicks and false hope, some of which they were responsible for. Using an engine that simply didn't mesh well with the fast-paced pro skater style, more so a Project 8 or Proving Ground style. Not to mention the Xbox One and PS4 ports were released at full retail price. The game is so limited and short for today's standard that it simply isn't worth $60 to $70. Hell, it pales in comparison to THPS 4 that was packed to the brim with content and features. A huge issue I found is that once you unlock King Graham in the levels, you're basically done. You can unlock a couple clothing things here and there, but there's really no incentive to keep playing. You don't get any more characters, pro skater videos are available from the get-go, no funny Bales montages, no behind the scenes footage, nothing at all. I would have rather have them take the THPS HD approach and release it at a reduced rate. Although Robomodo did make the mistakes of relying on gimmicks, planning a sequel before seeing how Riot did first, and failing to carry the torch, they did do some good things I need to bring up. They gave wall plants to the fans when they asked, they tried to help resolve the technical issues with the game, they gave free DLC to us to make up for the poor reception, and maybe this is just another story of a company being pushed to make a game for release faster than it should have been. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 would be the last game under Activision's watch. With this, Tony Hawk is looking to expand his skateboarding series, but with someone else involved, and we're left in the dark. With Neversoft out of the picture and Robomodo in shambles, where could this lead? In any case, the diehards will continue to cling to their treasured personal favorite Tony Hawk game. We will continue to play.
What happened today? Did it go away again? Just like someone